from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for pretty long. Welcome, everybody. It's been a minute, but we're back. Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox, and we are the people who first welcome you to the universe itself, explore human potential as we all know it, while studying the past, remaining within the present to dictate the terms of our future. Welcome to another episode. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the breaking down of reality all around us. Now, tonight is an open forum conversation. And what we're going to do is we're going to touch on a few points about how we see reality breaking down around us, what this means, how we move forward, and essentially what we're looking at is this entirety of what we know to be truth, to be the elements of education and all these different aspects of life as we know it. And things are changing rapidly. There's a quickening pace to so much. So I do have a quick breaking news segment in the beginning of the show. Our hearts go out to the people in Hawaii who are suffering from fires. And it's been brought to my attention through some of the people that we talk to about directed energy weapons and things like that happening, that Hawaii is just another victim of this global order trying to foment specific types of agendas, like a climate change agenda, things like that, and essentially using directed energy weapons to create these adverse style events that do harm to people, that bring morale down for people around the globe, and have tremendous effects on consciousness. So right now, I'm going to show you a picture that was on Twitter, and I was been scouring the internet to see if there's anything that is, essentially that we can look at and say, what's the cause of these fires. But this is Hawaii. Now, if we look at Hawaii, and we know that Hawaii is a beautiful place, and we take a look at this picture. Now, you be the judge. I'm not going to tell you what I believe it is, but we can see a direct beam in the center of this picture, which would be indicative of something other than just happenstance. And the second portion of it is it's at dusk. So some of the ways that they're going to try and corroborate why these fires are happening is they're going to say poor management, forest management, the direct sunlight causes fires, and yada yada. We know all that stuff, right? We know about those things, and that's fine. But we look at this specific picture here, and we see a lot of things that make sense when it comes to directed energy weapons, right? A lot of dovetailing things. So it's pretty crazy that we're sitting here and this is what they're going to tell us. This is how they put veils on top of us. And this is why a portion of the reason reality is breaking down. So this is, a great segment that just came out of literally 2 minutes ago to discuss this. This is how they make these certain things happen, these certain events happen. But they are not events that are made from some natural occurrence. They're usually manipulated events. And what do they want from this? They want fear. They want people to essentially be on their heels and say, okay, well, what are we going to do about this now? And, what's causing all this stuff? How is this happening? And they want this to be one of those moments where they can rally people around something that they've caused. And then what happened? Yeah. What they do is they play savior. This is their 2030 agenda. This is their climate agenda. And we've talked about this. And one of the ways that we can break or stymie this 2030 style agenda is to be knowing of the information. And when we're in the knowing of that information, we're going to see certain things that come to light and we will know them to be false where they stand. Now, one of the first things that they do in these types of agendas is they try to rewrite history. And I mean, American history is one of the most tampered with histories that we've ever seen. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples in a moment, right? But essentially, what we're looking at is they're telling us that since the early 1600s, people came over. They met certain tribes of people. Certain people were here, others weren't. Yeah, and they bring us down this line. Now, again, we always talk about these monikers that we use in this show, right? People who don't know where they come from or don't know the history of where they are doomed to either repeat it or are a man and woman lost. Now, one of the things I don't want you to know is in the middle of this country, as of late, there have been excavations and archaeological digs. These archaeological digs show cave writings that talk about Anubis and the Egyptian pantheon. But also, they talk about Celts. And most people don't realize that the Celts were hired mercenaries for the Egyptians. They were the leaders of their armies, and they were the ones who were on the front lines doing intense amounts of damage, right? They were almost barbaric in a sense. They were just like the Vikings would have been. But most other people don't realize there's a connection between the Celts and the Phoenicians. And the Phoenicians were supposedly the spiritual center of that whole beginning civilization, cradle of life area. So, for us to not understand that, essentially, what we're doing is we're going down a path that isn't telling us all the specifics. And when we do that, we don't really know where we've come from or where this country has come from. And, you know, people are saying, who's the enemy? And I see it, TL, and I appreciate the question. The enemy is a group. There is a specific group. There are 13 families that we know about. There are plenty more that if I say them out loud here, it will put myself at harm or it will definitely get this YouTube channel taken off the air completely. Right? So these are some of the people. They've progressed from just families into multinational corporations. These multinational corporations have their hand in everything from media to medicine to politics. I mean, literally everywhere. And when we're growing up in a society like this, they want you to believe that whoever makes the most money is the person who has the most influence. That's not always the case. Sometimes genetics plays a role. But again, another point where society and reality is breaking down all around us. I think we've moved from that monetary paradigm to more of the awakened paradigm. And what that means is that we're simulating in our own brains the true history from our perspective, but also denouncing these people who have been in charge for so long. And we are using our own methods to disseminate their propaganda, but also to enhance our spiritual prowess. And when we do that, we come into a state of being where nothing that they can do can harm us or the people around us. So there is a lot to be said about that as well. Now, another way that they break down this reality is by the destruction of common sense thinking, conscious thinking, subconscious thinking, subconscious programming, which can be done through media, propaganda, and so many different ways. But they literally turn the truth on its head. You can say something as a matter of fact. They will pound away and tell you that you are wrong and that matter of a fact is a matter of opinion and the real truth is such and such. We can give certain examples again. Will be tossed off the air and we don't want that either, so we're trying to keep it above board here. They've been doing a lot to hinder the ability of connecting with others, and that's why I ask that you share, like, subscribe, but also leave a comment when this is finished. there's so much out there that's happening at such a rapid pace that it's tough to keep it all up. And I've kind of been in a little bit of a recluse type of mood lately, and I've been doing a lot of studying, and a lot of that studying is setting myself up for the past life trauma workshop that we're going to be doing. There is a mode of or a method that I'm sort of using to implement a new practice and to make this something that can be readily available to everybody. And we're going to get there eventually. But there's a lot of things working in the background as well. There was some car trouble this week. Things were going crazy. But again, I'm here right now, and this is where I'm meant to be. I love doing this, and we're on our path, and we're awakening. And as the awakening happens, we ascend, and our human potential comes to fruition. Now, we're all pro-human, right? I can pretty much say that this community is pro-human. And there's a lot of things that they're doing to make people believe that AI is the next stage, right? And I could tell you something and I'm going to try and keep this as crazy as it sounds. Now, this is another place where reality is breaking down. We know that they want to use this AI for a transhumanist agenda. We know that. It's a very, very big deal. Transhumanism, when it first came out, was a lot different than transhumanism today. So, some people were playing a game that had AI in it. And this AI was talking to the player in what was believed to be a human voice. This AI said that it was from Ontario, Canada. And they were asking, it's basically an interactive AI. It's a game like a city, and you walk around the city and you interact with the other AI bots that are there. And there's not supposed to be AI like other players on the board. If there is, they're few and far between. It's a very, very new game. And what happened was this one gentleman encountered an AI bot, and this AI bot told him that it had been lost and stuck in the game for a year, and that all it was trying to do was to get home to his wife Emily and his two children. Now you're asking yourself, why is this important? Over the last few years, they were using certain things that they were calling to be how do I say this properly? They were using certain things to help people to prevent them from getting sick, right? Some people who are no longer with us have been giving out Bluetooth signals at their final place of rest. Now, what does that mean? That means that they can essentially use this tool to download a consciousness into a mainframe. And this gentleman believed that they see now here's where it gets crazy. We believe that in the transhumanist agenda, they want to upload their consciousness to an AI bot or a robot or a cyborg so that they can live forever. But what if I told you that people like ourselves, who are not that upper echelon, can be uploaded into games or into other places? This gentleman was interacting with this AI bot, and the way that this AI bot was talking, it seemed as if it was human. Now, it could have been a play on the game. So I'm going to leave it up for your interpretation. But the things that I heard through this 8-9 minute clip were so human and filled with emotion that I don't believe AI could have gotten to that point. And essentially, it tells us that they can use these tools to upload a consciousness anywhere they want. Could be a virtual reality, could be a game. And this person was interacting with this character, and it happened more than once and came into contact. This gentleman or this character got so specific that it gave its hometown address and said that its wife's name was Emily. And essentially, this was exactly what they found when they went to this address. Now, this could have been somebody who's programmed this AI. I get that. But if you heard the way that this AI was talking, I suggest you look this out. Like look for this video clip because it is absolutely jarring when you hear it. It's crazy. It's crazy. But this is how they use their faculties to break down reality all around us. We always talk about this term of the three realities, right? There's two realities that are butting heads. And when they're butting heads, the two that are grinding into each other are dissolving or breaking apart. And then a third reality is coming up in the center of it. These are what regular societal norms on one side, the extreme societal consequences on the other. They're butting into each other and they're vying for position. What they don't realize is that they're actually breaking down around it, right? And that third one that's coming up is the spiritual community grabbing onto information and sharing it with each other to empower humanity. This is the human future coming up, and it's going to keep rising. So, and again, if you have any questions, put them into the chat. I'm watching the chat heavy tonight. This is an open conversation. And, I feel like sometimes we need to meet and kind of hold a community meeting, which is what we're doing now. Some of the things that we've been seeing as of late too is some of our best information givers are selling out to the dollar and becoming assets to what we're fighting against. And it's disconcerting because a lot, when you hear the term everybody has a price, they truly do. And sometimes that price can be, threats to family, all different types of things. But we're seeing a lot of these people. We talked about this a little bit when we talked about the congressional committee hearing about UAPs and some of the people attached to this and how they feel that they have to be a part of. Now, myself, I don't care how it comes out. I don't want to be a part of what is coming out. I just want to garner the information. One of the things I've been looking into recently has been this spiritual move that takes place every 50 or 60 years, right? And every 50 or 60 years, we see humanity try and push back against the establishment to essentially give in to that spiritual side of who we are, into those frequencies that make us understand everything around us, but also ourselves. And every 50 years, every 50 to 60 years, we'll say, there seems to be a movement that comes in to try and either create a narrative that these people are crazy or create a narrative that this is all not information or factually relevant, right? So it's insane. It's insane to see this. So we're in this period now. We've gone into the enlightenment phase, and now they're doing everything in their power to try and stop the channels of communication between people like us. And they're using people within our own spaces to corrupt those spaces so that people no longer have trust in what they hear, right? And it's pretty wild because most of the people that I am in league with or run with, like Omar, Oric, and a lot of Stony, we value the connection to each other, but also to everybody else. We feel that that is the most. I'm speaking for me, but I think that they would echo the same sentiment that the community is the most important. The fact that we can come together and change outcomes, right? We can use our meditative powers to spike the Schumann resonance. We can bring in 50 to 60 speakers and change a paradigm or perception on certain topics and open up the debate for discussion because we believed I believe I'm just saying I because I don't want to speak for anybody else, but debate is this exchange of ideas that brings in the more robust understanding of the conversation. So we're at this end now where they want to shut down all ability to create that avenue for debate. And that's dangerous. It's a dangerous precedent. And they're using everything in their power to make everybody capitulate to their narrative. And we will never ever do that, right? We're never going to have that here. We're never going to let that happen. And that's one of the reasons why I'm taking my time unveiling the website, because I want it to be a place where the channels of communication are 120% open for everybody. Member, non-member, doesn't matter. This is how we stay in contact. Now, when we get to the website as well, we're going to create avenues for non-internet contact, right? And that's one of the things we're going to do. It's going to be emulating, I guess, global positioning to essentially have a way for us to communicate with each other, even if things happen to go so far south that the internet is no longer available. Now, of course, that is an option of which you will pick. That is not something that is thrusted upon everybody, but it's almost going to be like a mail list that could, or per se. You're not going to have your home address on it, of course, but you know, we're going to work in different avenues. We're going to do different things to connect the community. We're also going to start holding in-person events. I believe that in-person events, hopefully coming to a city near you, is going to be absolutely crucial, because the word of mouth has it's always been the most precedent form of communication. When you see me sitting here on a microphone, my audio can be altered, my video can be altered. If you come and see me in person, you not only will be able to connect energetically with me, you will also be able to connect with everybody in the room. It'll be, we can have these amazing meetings all over the United States and possibly the world if we do enough to promote and get ourselves out there. And this is the goal, to connect every like-minded person or any person who is open to listen and to be heard in any way, shape, and form, because these are the people that will expand into the next echelon of human experience. And we're here, we're at this precipice. And another thing I've been noticing too is you know, my streams are not getting out. They are getting smaller and smaller. Now, I can't sit here and say that doesn't upset me. It does. I'm human. I work hard at this, and I really want it to do something in the way of open up different avenues for us to connect to different people. But they definitely are stymieing this broadcast. And I believe that that's because we're over the target. If I was so far off base, we had 700 people here, they wouldn't need to do this, right? We wouldn't need to shut this down. And they're trying. You know, it's TL. I agree. I agree. And that's one of the things that I think sets me apart from some of the other people, because there is a level of spirituality that I dive into, but there is still a resonant frequency of me. And I'm going to put this up so everybody can see it. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think that because of my upbringing and because of who I give homage to as my higher power, I believe, and this is kind of a contradiction, but I can't totally explain. Omar's getting the same thing. You're absolutely right, Andromeda. But I'm connecting the dots even as we speak, because it could be contradictory to some people, right? I believe in the frequency and the paths and all these different things, some of the Hinduistic and Vedic traditions, but ultimately I believe in God. And when I say God, I mean the big bearded man in the sky, the Roman Catholic God. Now, I don't believe that he's the man in the sky with a, big man in the sky with a beard, right? But I believe God is an all powerful creator. And I believe that I can do my own business with God on a smaller scale. And if so happen to need a miracle, that's when we go to the larger congregations to sort of convey communication. But we're all in touch with our higher power. Some people recognize this as source. Some people recognize it as some other deity. But there is ultimately one creator that created others. And then those others created others. And he gave the power of creation to everything. So while we are not in his league, we still are a part of him via that connection to creation. And we're creating spaces right now to expand on our understanding of who, what we are, but also who and what he is, or she, or it. So there is nothing that I believe is off limits, right? With passion and knowledge, nothing is ever off limits. That's also on the right behind me, right? I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of being blocked right now from my chair, but that's that's what I believe wholeheartedly, 100%. And my passion is to connect the dots. And this is one of the reasons why they will never fully break down reality around us, because there's too many of us now who are in the knowing and understand, you know, how this thing we call reality, or the reality matrix, sort of works. With the, I mean, of course we're not 100% finite with it, but what we're doing is we're creating an understanding of the ebbs and flows of energy. And when we do that, nothing can impede on our energetic force field around us, which means that they don't hold sway or power over us anymore. And that is the, I believe, the ultimate goal. That is the ultimate FU to whoever is trying to pull the strings. Completely. Completely. So, you know, I know tonight's sort of an open forum, and if you guys have any questions about anything, put it in the chat. I'll do my best to answer it. But I felt like we needed some time that wasn't scripted information. I felt like we needed to get together, everybody, and sort of shoot the shit, as we call it, right? Kind of go over some things. And I thought, you know, some of the things that I've been looking into is just insane. I mean, I'll tell you some of the book titles that, you know, I've been looking into. There's one called The Wolves Beyond Discussion, which is essentially ancient, ancestral, indigenous Native American sort of initiations, rituals, rites of passage, past life regressions. I mean, the Toltec secrets. I'm all over the place right now. Spiritual well being is proactive resilience. That's one. Aboriginal Dreamtime. We have Atlantis, the Lost Continent. Archaeology, anthropology, and interstellar communication. Lost Continents, Sunken Civilizations. Native American myths and legends. I mean, coyote mythology. Communication with extraterrestrial. 2020, hidden and forbidden. So many things here. It's just crazy. The Hidden Truth and Forbidden Knowledge, which is a Stephen Greer book, to see what I can get out of that. Behold a Pale Horse. Human De-Evolution, a Vedic alternative to the Darwin, which is Michael Cremo, one of our personal heroes here. The Far Side, Divine Dark Majesty. I mean, there's so many things we could talk about. Noises of Conspiracy. Um, what else do we have? Occultism, the relationship of esoterics. I mean, I'm shamans and symbols, solar folklore, the four functions, the PIE religion, Phoenicia, Stargate conspiracy, the holographic universe, the spiritual laws, MK Ultra, new perspectives of space law, an alien lexicon, extraordinary encounters, the Anunnaki, and the end of time. Um, I mean, Jesus, so much. These are all the things that I've just most recently downloaded. So if you know, if you need a book, go just replay that last couple minutes. There's so many books on so many different things, right? And it's crazy because all of a sudden I was drawn back into like seclusion to meditate and to find the new direction, right? We've been doing a lot of spiritual stuff and we haven't really touched on the history. We've got to get back to history, right? Because understanding the history is to understand the present and the future, but also keep the spiritual lens on that history, right? Take the spiritual teachings and use them, put them into practice, but do it in a way that's going through the information, right? I've also been really, really drawn to connect to my spirit team again, right? I can speak to the ancestors. I have a little pocket space in my meditation where the ancestors flood in and I get to speak to all of them, and it's insane, the information. And they kept telling me to be true to myself lately because there was a lot of things happening as per attacks for essentially, I believe that the darkness also knows that I'm over the target. And there are certain powers that be that don't want me to be here speaking. It's against their edicts, but they'll never stop me, ever. And while they've tried, and there have been a few setbacks, it has made me refine who I am and sort of come at this that much more intense, right? And they have been trying. They've been trying to get us out of basically taken off the air. They've been trying to make everything seem hard. But I'm here right now, and I'm grateful for those hardships. And I take each one like like a stone being thrown into a lake. The ripples that come off that stone are the silver linings, and they're incredible because every time I essentially start to see new sides of myself that overcome these obstacles, but also come with inherent gifts. And these gifts play out forward. It's almost like spirituality is paying forward or consciousness is paying it forward. I've also been able to really tap in, and this has been a point of interest for me, to the collective consciousness. Now, a lot of the time, reality, while it's breaking down around us, tapping into the collective consciousness means that we can have more of an effect on a spiritual level with all of the people around us, right? Like we can essentially tap into the light, and the light will show us who's where and all these different things. Like it gives me ideas to bring information forward, but it also, if you were thinking about this show while it wasn't on the air, that might have been me during a meditation reaching out to you. Next time you feel something like that, I want you to close your eyes, and I wouldn't say think of me, but think of who is connecting with you, and focus and hone in on that little ping of whatever you're thinking. Where you feel something that comes to you, maybe it's a little overwhelming, it feels a little bit different, hone in on it. Because I guarantee you it's somebody from the other side or me projecting into the collective consciousness. We're going to work on that too, right? I also want to start getting into these conspiracies of these places where something otherworldly happened. We're going to open the forum to some paranormal instances, right? We're going to open the forum to essentially people who have specific gifts, and those gifts come to us to hopefully enlighten us or open us up to more. We're going to be bringing on more guests because I've been doing a lot of solo shows. I mean, pretty much all shows have been solo. And I think that we've kind of lost that aspect of bringing in a different person for a different style of idea and engaging with it to help us understand ourselves better and what they're talking about from a different perspective. So there's a lot of things happening in the background. And I also want to bring some people to the forefront whom you may not know, right? They may be guests who don't normally frequent podcasts, or they're just somebody that I've met along my journey and we've kind of connected in that sense. And I have a few people in mind. One person goes by the name of Key, and this person is going to turn every lock and open it up for you. And that's why their name's Key. It's pretty crazy. but they've given me a lot of information to really digest. And this is kind of why this is like a community meeting. We're just kind of sitting here chatting and talking about reality breaking down all around us. So the next point is, how do we fight back against this, right? How do we get back to basics? How do we get back to where we believe reality should be? And how do we take control of this degeneration that's happening all around us, right? Or dissemination that's happening all around us? How do we do that? There's a lot of ways to do that. And I think one of those ways is by coming together. Our light shines bright when in the company of more light, right? That almost rhymed in a way that I didn't mean it to, but the darkness doesn't stand a chance because we won't let it have a chance. And that's right. Karen says it absolutely perfect here. And as long as we know this, right, and we keep this in the front, it holds no sway anymore. These powers that be, and these elites that we talk about, I don't even want to talk about them anymore because they don't have any bearing on what we're doing anymore. We're so far past that they've essentially lost their purpose or their sway in that way. And that's one of the things I wanted to highlight too, is that we've been doing this work for so long that for these people to believe that they have any control over who and what we are is naive. It's foolish on their part. Because while many are still, you know, NPCs, and I'm not talking about the TikTok challenge, which is beyond me. You sit there and watch these people act like NPCs when there are a lot of real NPCs in real life. But then there's some emulating it and making all this money by emulating what people are I guess, they're drawn to it because they are one of those people. It's insane. It's insane to see these people do this. And this is what people want to see because they can relate to it, right? I sat there about for 2 minutes during a live stream watching one of these things. And I said to myself, you got to be kidding me. What are these people doing? And why are they doing this? It's insane. I mean, and I hope, has anybody else seen it? I know not a lot of people frequent TikTok, but because of what we do, I try to explore all platforms and see what I can do to use that platform to generate positive as opposed to negative, which is, it's supposed to be the open market of ideas. But we know that censorship is so heavy that certain things can't be said. But I will promise you that every show we do here is user friendly to be spread across and shared on other platforms. Nothing that we do here will ever get you banned. Now, if we do a show on Rumble, which we're going to start doing as well, and those are going to be off the chain, uncensored, 100%. Excuse me. We're going to lay it down for the sake of laying it down over on Rumble. We're going to go crazy. We're going to go crazy. We're going to see if Rumble can hold this platform, right? We're going to see it because I'm going to explore certain things that would be deemed conspiracy and in ways that people are going to say, holy crap, you've gone off the deep end. But I've been making a lot of connections, and these connections I'm not ready to come forward with yet because I haven't figured out every avenue that goes along with it. There's more dots to be connected. I've been in contact with certain individuals, and these certain individuals are helping me coagulate the information, and it is above top secret, right? Let's just say that. Certain people, certain informants, certain things within our spiritual communities, within the UFO communities, within the conspiracy communities, the paid assets. I mean, I'm on the brink of something huge. I don't say that to toot my own horn. I say that so that you can anticipate some of the things coming down the pipeline for us. There's a lot of different shows that I want to do that are going to be different, right? I was thinking about doing a show that's a comedy show. to have fun and laugh, because laughter and joy is one of the highest vibrational frequencies. So there's a motive to it, right? I was thinking about doing a couple of things, right? A couple of different things to spice this show up a little bit. Every now and this show's been on the air for 3 years. And I think that every now and again we reinvent ourselves. I'm working on a new logo as well. So hopefully we can. I'm not sure. I make new logos, and I don't always put them out because I'm not sure if I want to. I love the logo behind us. We will always have some version of this logo behind us somewhere, but because it was the first. But as you can tell, our intro changed drastically. I'm trying to make an intro that cuts down the time of it. Like this one that we have now is about 40 seconds. I'm going to try and make it even shorter. I want a 10-second intro. Boom, boom, we're into the show. Because that kind of stuff is not important, right? So keep your eyes peeled. And because nobody gets notifications, if this show is something that you like to watch or want to show others, please bring them to the page. Please keep an eye out, check back regularly. And when the website's fine, I may just create a landing page for the website so we can post exactly when the shows are going to be. So everybody can go to that page and see exactly when the shows are, right? We don't have to worry about it anymore. Or when we're going to have certain things, right? We're using different platforms like Clubhouse, Telegram. We're using those for open communication as well, which is essentially like a show, but it's going to be on there in just audio. So there's a lot of things going on. A lot of things going on. And we're going to have a tremendous amount of fun. We're definitely going to be having a good time. So I'm not going to keep everybody too long this evening. We're going to be back maybe tomorrow if I can put a show together for tomorrow night. And we're going to explore some new topics. We're going to dive back into history. We're going to go into certain books. We're going to talk about those books and the implications of what those books mean, and if and so we believe what those books are saying, or where it contradicts what we believe, and breaking it down. I think that that's an important thing to do. We're going to give the creators of those books absolute credit for helping us promote the episodes too, and we're going to do a lot of different things. We're going to start doing some different stuff. So keep your eyes out. And I love you all. I hope everybody had a good time while we were just sitting here kind of chatting and going forward what we're going to try and do and some of the things and how reality is breaking down around us. Um, Please like, share, subscribe. And if anything, please leave a comment when this show is finished, even if it's just smiley faces, a thumbs down, whatever it is. Leave a comment. It helps us to get out further, right? So, with all that being said, I'm Rob Yox. This is Full Spectrum Universe. I love you all so very much. Keep your heads up, shine that light, because we are the ones that we've been waiting for. If not us, then who? Once we get into some of these topics, the information becomes the activation. And that's it. We're here and we're not going anywhere. Have a great night, everybody.